It's Bassmaster Classic week, and we, of course, are going to be talking about the Bassmaster Classic at length. We're going to preview it, make our picks. You can drop your picks in the comments as well. We'll have a good time with that. And the biggest bass boat owners tournament that exists was on Lake Fork this weekend. We're going to cover all that. Of course, we're going to talk about how the fishing's going around here. We got a Major League Fishing event to talk about. We got a lot to get to tonight, Chris.
A lot to talk about.
Are you excited?
I'm excited.
I'm excited. So, cheers, y'all. Thanks for joining the Fish Life Podcast. Let's get it.
He rode. What up, Vic?
Do us a favor as you guys get in here tonight. Do us a huge favor. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoy these live podcasts, because you know what this is, right?
It's the lowest budget.
This is the lowest budget that's actually live fishing podcast, which makes this the L ball, which makes you a bunch of low ballers. So welcome, low ballers. We'll do one more cheers to the low ballers out there. Let's go. Also, after you drop that thumbs up, drop us a comment so we know who we're talking to. Throw some questions in there. Let's have a conversation. That's how this thing works. We're all going to have a community-driven conversation.
It's called social media interaction.
That's right. And then share it.
Share it.
If you know how, because we're idiots and we don't really know how to tell you to do that. But if you know how, please do share it. We would greatly appreciate it. Lord knows these two idiots need all the help we can get.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
What's going on with you, Chris?
Man, trying to get out and fish a little bit. I've been so dang busy lately.
Yeah?
I ain't been able to. So
Yeah, well, you're in the beer business as your regular job. And the beginning of the summer, basically from Cinco de Mayo until July 4th is kind of a hold on for dear life deal. Then you get a little reprieve. Then you hit Labor Day, and then it kind of calms down.
Yeah.
So we used to fish a lot in the wintertime because of that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And, I mean,
The summer, and especially the first half of summer, is a bear for you.
right. That's right. Which, I don't think this will ever change, but the wintertime will always be my favorite time to fish, regardless.
Yeah, the big fish factor. I know. We've had this conversation. I know. I'm in on that deal, too. Let's say some hellos and how you doing to the early risers in the chat here. We got Bobby Walker, Mr. B's Honey, Nick Scuderi. He's the mad swim baiter, Mr. B's Honey is. Shane Newell, Fishing with JC. Christopher Rivery, Bass Fishing. Stephen Latham's in the house. I ain't heard from you in a while. What's up, Stephen? Good to see you in here again. Super Dave, Vic Pearsall. Those are the early commenters. We got Cameron Clark. I'm sure as we go along, we'll get more and more folks joining us. There's a Brian Muirhead sighting right there. Appreciate each and every one of y'all joining us as you do each and every Sunday night. Tell your friends, share this thing, check in the wreck, and let's begin. Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
Did you see what I did there?
I saw
That was
that.
almost smooth, baby.
Sorry that I rhymed it.
Even on timed it.
You want to,
We're just going to keep doing this?
I mean-
Are we fixing to turn this into like the widest freestyle ever? Is that what we're about to do?
revolutions were fought for
So this weekend I went to Lake Fork. I tried to fish not like a dork. No, go ahead.
Do we want to get kicked off with some SOT action?
Yeah, absolutely. Skeeter Owners Tournament, which to my knowledge, I'm pretty sure this is hands down the biggest bass boat owners tournament in the nation. It's an unbelievable event that Skeeter puts on at Lake Fork every year. And I think that's part of the draw and part of the reason it's the biggest and most successful is, A, it's an owners tournament.
That's right.
But also, it's at Lake Fork. What a draw that is, right? Big bass capital of the world. And then Skeeter is made right down the road, so there's such a devout following of Skeeter ownership around the area that can make the event, and then as well as the Skeeter owners across the country, because Skeeter is a major boat brand. It's one of the top boat brands across the country, and a lot of the folks from around the country come in. I mean, we see it in the guide business. They come and pre-fish with us before the tournament to kind of get a handle on the lake, and we also just see the different license plates and registration numbers that you see from out of state that you just don't see as many of. You always have that at Lake Fork, but not nearly as many as during an owner's tournament. So it's an unbelievably huge event. It's a really, really well-ran event. It's a really cool event. If you do own a Skeeter, like you literally get enough. They give you enough free giveaway stuff when you. I'm stammering here. So when you sign up,
$230.
they hand you more than $230 worth of stuff.
That's right.
As soon as you sign
That
up,
comes with a rod, a pair of coasters, and a bag that is full of just
baits and all kinds of stuff.
tons of stuff.
You easily get your money back and then some. In value as soon as you sign up, and then Lord forbid you go cash a check or catch the biggest one. You win a new boat. You can, or like I saw Jerry Dean in the very first hour. One of the guys that watch his channel, he cashed a $500 check in the first hour of the first day.
Yep. Steven, the G3 does count as a Skeeter, yes.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the owners tournament went off this week. Now, everything's been so far behind this year with the weather and all that stuff, right?
Yep.
So Lake Fork is not fishing the way it normally would in June.
Right.
Normally, that Skeeter owners tournament's held the first week or two of June, first weekend or two of June, and it's an offshore fest. Like it's an offshore deal. It usually gets one off. I don't know where the guy caught the 989, almost 10-pound post-spawn bass won this event. And I don't know where the guy caught it or how he caught it, but I can tell you it could have came from anywhere. Because my buddy John Maxfield was fishing as far back in the creek as you could get it. And in the first hour of the tournament, he caught one that was a quarter-inch short of competing with that 989 because it was fat, Jack. He caught one way back in a creek in a couple feet of water as far back as you can go. So there are people catching giants anywhere from 1 foot of water to 31 foot of water right now. There's some really deep fish and 30 plus foot of water, and there's some really shallow fish. And everywhere in between, there's in between fish too. So it was a really spread out event. The fish were really spread out. It was a good event. By any standards that you go to at any lake, they had 11 hourly weigh-ins, I believe. There was 8 fish over 24 inches because the slot limit on Lake Fork, you got to catch something over 24 inches or under 16 inches to bring it into the scales. Can't keep anything between 16 and 24. So a fish over 24 inches is a giant.
Yeah.
You know, I've caught about as many fish that are 10-pounders that are under 24 inches as I have 10-pounders that are over 24 inches. Now, a fish can be over 24 inches and only weigh 6 or 7 pounds if she's skinny enough. But most of the fish you catch over 24 inches are going to be at least an 8-pounder in the post spawn. Yeah. A lot of them be 9s. And if it's not post spawn, man, they can be 10, 11 pounds in the slot. So a fish that's long enough to be over 24 inches is a huge frame fish. Mm-hmm. There was 8 of those caught in 11 hours of weigh-ins. By anybody's standards, that's tremendous.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like any lake. Yet somehow we're going, man, Lake Fork's kind of off.
Yeah.
Because we've also seen Skeeter owners tournament at Lake Fork where they've had 32 in 11 hours. Yeah. So it's Lake Fork's just a different animal. We're spoiled. You know what's funny is we're talking about Major League Fishing event on Chickamauga, and Chickamauga has been one of the best lakes in the country, hands down, the last 5 years.
Yep.
And we're watching those guys catch 5 and 6 pounders, and they're hooping and hollering, and I'm going, I mean, that's a good fish, but why are they so fired up about that fish?
Yeah.
Because Lake Fork freaking spoils you, dude. That's why. Like a 4-pounder on Lake Fork is just another fish.
That's right.
It's not that big of a deal.
You know, this is the first year I didn't fish Skeeter in
I know.
a long time.
I know.
A long time.
I know. You usually do fish it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But, you know.
But yeah, Lake Fork is off, I guess, a little bit by Lake Fork standards. But
well, I think I think
crazy.
I think the weather and just kind of
and there were some storms that rolled through during the tournament.
and
but,
the fish are as confused as we are. I think
well,
at this point.
You know, one thing that I would kind of say, I don't know if I would say the fish are confused because the fish are just reacting to the conditions they're presented, and they're doing a little bit of everything because there's a little bit of everything available to do.
That's right.
There's still a little lingering shad spawn. There's offshore schools of bait fish. There's bluegill spawn going on. There's still some bass spawning because of what the water temps are. So the fish are doing what their environment's dictating them to do.
That's right.
It's just dictating that they can do a whole lot of everything, and it's spreading them out.
What I really
throughout
like,
all columns of the lake.
What I really like about this time of the year, kind of what we're seeing right now, is we don't have a thermocline, so these fish can get super deep.
Some of them are super deep.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we get in the dog days of summer.
Well, it just makes it harder to zero in on any one thing or get enough bites to where you can get lucky enough to get that right bite in an hourly tournament when there's that much spread out stuff going on within the column, the water column, because there's just not as many fish out offshore as there normally would be.
Right.
There's not as many fish in their summertime shallow water as there would be. What's the guy's name next to Billy? This is Chris. Christina.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Ma'am. Either one. Whatever.
Ma'am. You seen that video?
I haven't seen that.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know, just your cadence and tone is what got me.
I don't feel like getting demonetized tonight. So
well, let's not get demonetized tonight. Let's not get demonetized tonight. Yeah, but that was the owner's tournament, man. It's not that Lake Fork is fishing bad. It's not. It's still fishing good. It's just
we're just not where we normally are at this time.
Yeah, Yep, and the numbers of fish aren't going to be as good. I don't care who you are. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's just not. So.
Spread them out, spread them out.
That's right. Well, at least it wasn't for the owner tournament participants, and it's not been in my boat. The numbers, it's just hard to stay consistent day after day right now.
That's right. Yep. I like it.
So Major League Fishing is on Chickamauga, and it's only halfway over, so we're not going to take too much time talking about that. But they're catching fish, but they're not just.
A lot of the field's struggling.
And you know what the deal is? They've had even more rain than we've had over there. Like that whole Alabama region, Tennessee has been flooded so much, and that river system catches a lot of that water. And it's had so many changing conditions in it that it doesn't surprise me that they're kind of struggling. But I mean, they are, at least what we're seeing is they're offshore fishing like they should be this time of year on Chick. A lot of guys that are lead, especially the leaders, are out there with that big plug, deep diving crankbait, getting after it.
Yeah, the cut line for Group A ended up being 35 pounds. So,
not bad, but not what you expect from Chick in June.
Correct.
And it's just cool because you get some really good names in there. Jordan Lee and Matt Lee are right there together. Justin Lucas, Wesley Strader, Andy Morgan, Zach Burge, Mark Rose, Ott Defoe, Luke Clausen, Cliff Pace, Brian Thrift. I mean, just the names that you get: Mark Davis, Ish Monroe, Gagliardi, Scott Suggs.
I want to look who
And then I know Edwin Evers is doing really well. Kevin's still in the fight, but we got to wait till tomorrow to find out who's going to make that cut. But just the big names that you get on Major League Fishing, that's really the big draw to me to that tour is the names that you get to watch fish.
John Cox didn't make a cut.
Yeah, that's not often.
That doesn't happen a lot.
They must not. Well, they're not biting shallow. That's the deal.
Yeah.
They're not biting. They're biting deep. They're biting deep. They're not biting shallow.
Hold on, I'm trying to look where Wheeler is.
Edwin Evers and Kevin Van Dam in first and second. Dustin Connell, Wheeler's right there. I mean, just the names on this freaking list. This roster's crazy.
So, one thing I will say, spoiler alert, I can't look into the future, so it's not really a spoiler alert. Ott Defoe is doing what Ott Defoe does, right?
Which is what?
Hanging around, doing what he's got to do to qualify to the knockout in the championship. And then he shifts into overdrive.
Yeah, he's got a
got
bit of a track record for not being the leader of the pack, and then all of a sudden on championship day,
you're like, where'd those fish come from?
Game over.
Yeah. And like not even.
Does he do it on purpose?
I do.
Does he hold? I know on the Lake Fork one last year it wasn't on purpose because they changed lakes.
Correct.
So that was just a different deal.
But see, that just goes to.
Is he better at managing his fish than some of the other guys? Is what I'm asking.
I think he's better at managing his fish, but I also think he's better at whenever something's not working as well as it
making
should
the
for
adjustments.
him, making the adjustment.
He's better at adjusting on the fly.
He is better at leaving fish that he knows are not going to get him there.
Yeah.
And I imagine that format. That's probably got to be the toughest thing to do.
Yeah.
Is leave a pattern that you know is not going to get you to where you need to be. That's got to be the toughest thing.
It's all, like I said, those names it's a great fishing week for us fishing fans because we've got 3 more days of Major League Fishing. Oh, and then the day after that, guess what starts? It's the Bassmaster Classic. And speaking of the Bassmaster Classic, that's going to be the meat of tonight's podcast because it is the Bassmaster Classic. And it is in Fort Worth, Texas.
Super Bowl bass fishing.
Lake Ray Roberts. I'm going to be there. It's my first time I'll ever actually be present at a Bassmaster Classic. So I'm pretty fired up about that. I'm hoping to get some behind-the-scenes access, get some media passes, and really create some good content from a different perspective of the Bassmaster Classic this week is what I'm hoping for. But I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be awesome. I've kind of become friends with Patrick over the last year since his amazing show up and show out at Lake Fork last fall. Patrick Walters, that is. Mm-hmm. And so I'm looking forward to, and I know me and him are going to chit-chat some while we're there, and it's going to be an amazing week of bass fishing. Mm-hmm. We got a Chickamauga tournament followed by the Bassmaster Classic. It just doesn't get much better than that. As far as the Bassmaster Classic goes, I didn't realize that they started practice on Sunday. They get like 5 days of practice. I see comments for picks for the Classic. That's what we're leading into. Picks are coming. We are getting the picks for the Classic. You guys are killing me. Let's go to the picks. It's coming. This will be the shortest podcast ever because this is like our grand finale is our picks. So
already got mine. And
I didn't know.
For the record,
did you know they practice that much?
Yes.
I didn't know they got like 5 days of practice. Mm-hmm. So that's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. Because
Ray Roberts is it's a mind-boggling lake to take on. It's so full of cover and different varieties of structure and
it's not small.
bottom content. Yeah, and 54 anglers. It's not a small lake for 50. It's a really big lake for 54 anglers. I don't really know what to say about what's going to happen, other than I do feel like Ray Roberts. There's going to be guys that struggle to catch fish on Ray Roberts. There is at every tournament on every level that ever's gone to Ray Roberts. There's guys that are going to catch some really big bass and some really big bags of bass. We're going to see some big weights. You're going to see some best 5 bags. The people are going to go there, and our boy Mercer, our other buddy Dave Mercer, that we've become really good friends with, is going to get the shout out giant bass.
Giant.
You better listen. Do this, Mercer. Warm them vocal cords up this week, because you're going to be yelling giant bass
That's right.
a whole bunch of times at Ray Roberts, because there's some studs in there, man. But it's always been a lake that is super difficult to consistently get bites on, from everything I've ever heard. And when I went there, I found it to be much of the same. Now, I was there a month earlier, so patterns will be different. I was catching fish up shallow primarily, shad spawn deal, shallow crank, and stuff like that. But I did scout out some areas just to kind of see what type of offshore structure was available on that lake. And it's plentiful, man. There's brush piles. There's creek channel bends and edges with huge ledges on the creek channel bends, shallow flats next to them. There's offshore points and ridges, and there's offshore flats that are like miles long. It's the offshore structure is crazy, the amount of diversity in offshore structure on Ray Roberts. And I really feel like the guy that's going to win is going to be using forward-facing sonar, and he's going to be selectively catching bigger fish offshore more consistently because he's using that forward-facing sonar. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? Hopefully that makes sense.
For sure.
Like,
You don't think junk fishing could possibly...
No.
You don't think so?
No, I don't, because Ray Roberts is such a hard lake to consistently get bit on. If you're junk fishing, you're going to have a bad day. And a guy that's having a bad day on a forward-facing sonar might still be able to catch 4, but weigh 20-something.
So hold on. Let me ask you this, though. Okay. So
Or even scrounge out his fish.
when I say junk fishing...
Doing everything.
I mean, like, let's say, we'll call it fish management. Let's say you manage your fish, but you're technically junk fishing. You know, you're just catching them doing different things. Like
Well, you can't. That's the thing about junk fishing. You can't manage fish.
Yeah,
Because you don't know where your next bite's coming from.
that's true. So
So there's no way to manage it.
Right, I got you.
And I just don't think, I don't think that's going to work on Ray Roberts. I think, I've thought about it a bunch since I was there a month ago. Or it's almost a month ago since I've been there.
So I was just looking something up. I used to look every year at the, like they used to do a top 20 lakes in the country breakdown. And I remember when I was growing up, you know, you had your usual suspects out from the state of Texas. You know, you had your Lake Forks,
Rayburn,
your
Fork.
Rayburn, your
Yeah.
Toledo Bend, and Ray Roberts used to be in there.
Yeah.
It's not in there anymore.
No.
That's what I was just checking on.
No, Ray Roberts definitely is, past its prime.
And so I think the only thing I can attest to that is maybe the population thing.
It's Ray Roberts is a lot like Lake Fork, but not as good.
Yeah.
You know what? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just like Lake Fork, just not as good. It's got a great big fish factor. The average size fish you catch is unbelievable. It's really hard to get the bites consistently. Fork's much the same way. Roberts just never ascended as high as Fork, and now that it's settled into where it's at now, its settling point was much lower than Fork.
Right.
It's just a similar thing to Fork, just not as good. But if you haven't used that forward-facing sonar a lot, you don't understand, and I don't fully understand it yet. I'm just beginning to understand it. But you don't understand the ability that it gives you to be consistent in difficult situations.
Yeah.
It's a lot like bed fishing. The fish can be off. Like the general bite can be off, where it's hard to go out and catch them. But if you can just find 5 good ones on a bed that'll bite every day, you can have a good tournament.
Right.
It's the same thing. If these guys can just find 5 fish on their forward-facing sonar that they can trick into biting in a day, they can win the tournament. And they can target different size fish, because you can tell the difference in fish sizes, and I'm just learning it, and I'm starting to be able to figure out, what's a bigger fish and what's a smaller fish. and what's a different species of fish. I caught a crappie that I thought was a bass Friday.
That's like, a good crappie.
That crappie, it was a big crappie. It was pushing. It was like 2.5, 2 3/4 pound crappie.
Yeah.
But he was acting kind of like a bass, and he bit a flipping jig, if that makes any sense. So, like a black and blue half-ounce jig.
Is it any lips left?
Yeah, because he's a big crappie. He ate the whole jig. But no, I'm starting to be able to tell the difference in sizes of fish.
Right.
And so these guys that are so good at it, they're going to be way better than I am at it, obviously. I mean, they're the best in the world. They're going to be able to go out there and specifically target 4+ pound fish, 4 to 10, who knows how big pound fish,
Right.
and only target those fish. And if they can just find 5 of them that'll bite a day, they're bringing 20, 30 pounds. Who knows how much they'll bring to the
Oh,
scales every day.
yeah. I know Ray Bob ain't no stranger to a 30-pound bag.
And I think everybody in the field is going to have a bad day. I do. Like, I think this is a situation where it's very likely that you will see the winner not weigh in a limit all 3 days. And in that situation, I like the guys that are looking at them on that forward-facing sonar, because if they only catch 4, they'll be the right 4.
Yeah, that's fair.
Every way that I can think of this tournament, I really think that's how we're going to see it get won using forward-facing sonar.
Fair. That's fair.
And you'll see that reflected in my picks as well.
Yeah.
Bass monkey fishing, that's a good point. Yeah, John Sukup from the Bass Tank just won another $50,000 at the National Professional, the NPFL, National Professional Fishing League event.
LiveScope.
He's won 2 now using LiveScope.
Yep.
And we're getting to that time of year. It's been such a weird year, and everything's gotten delayed because of the cooler weather that stayed cool and all the rain, the rising water on these fisheries that we've been on, right? So that's kept all the fish super shallow and in junk. So we haven't seen the forward-facing sonars play as much. But now we're to the time of year
Where this is going to shine.
Every professional tournament you'll see for the rest of the year, the forward-facing sonar will play a factor in it.
So
at some point.
So when Patrick Walters did it in the fall on Fork,
Mm-hmm.
we're fixing to get to the time of the year where that dude is fixing to be the most deadly with that.
Well, maybe, but now he let the cat out of the bag on the biggest stage. So now these other guys have had the majority of a year to catch up to him.
I'm just saying, like,
And so he's not the only one.
I'm just saying that's going to be a more deadly tactic in the summertime.
That technique is going to play more now going forward.
Yeah.
And it would have started playing in late April, early May in normal conditions.
Correct.
In the South.
Correct.
But because of the conditions we've had in the South, everything's behind. All right, you want to do our picks? Everybody wants to see picks. Let's do our picks.
Come on. I'm going to let you lead this off.
You're going to let me lead this off.
Yeah. Your number one pick.
Are we doing them in order? I'm going to go.
Just
I'm going to go
top
3, 2, 1. I'm going to get. No, we're going to alternate because we can't pick the same guy. 'Cause
Right.
That's how we do it. But I'm going to go my third pick.
Go ahead.
Okay, because I think we have 3. I think we have totally 3 different picks. So I don't think we're going to
Maybe.
cross paths.
Maybe.
My number 3 pick is going to be Stetson Blaylock.
Fair.
Very good offshore fisherman.
Fair.
Very good at the electronics. He's one that kind of sneakily that nobody really knows about has gotten good with that forward-facing sonar. Stetson Blaylock is one of my picks.
Chris Johnson.
That's a great pick. That's one that I was going to pick, but I knew you were going to pick him.
Yeah.
So I'll let that one go.
We were sitting there before the deal, and you're like, hey, which one of the Johnson brothers? I was like, stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, and so for my next pick, the guy I'm going to go with is a guy that everybody's forgotten about this year. But this guy was this close to winning Angler of the Year last year. He almost won Angler of the Year last year. He lost it in the last event of the year at Lake Fork. And he is the only guy that I saw in that Lake Fork event catch one on a forward-facing sonar other than Patrick Walters on the coverage.
Okay.
David Mullins.
Good pick.
Another good
pick.
offshore fisherman. Really good offshore fisherman. Really good electronics guy. So I'm going Stetson Blaylock, David Mullins.
Good pick. For my number 2, I'm going to go Chris Aldane.
Great
Why
pick.
not?
Yeah, he lives in Fort Worth.
Yeah, why not?
He lives in Fort Worth.
I don't really need to defend that much.
No,
I
that's
shouldn't.
not.
And plus, also, let me
Here's
let me
one
say
deal, though.
this too.
He better let go of that big swim bait on Ray Roberts.
That's true.
He better.
That was what I was going to say. But whenever he was throwing a big swim bait on Grand, was it Grand?
I know he threw it on Fork the whole time.
Well, no, I'm talking about the classic on the classic in Oklahoma where he top 5'd.
I don't remember.
He was throwing a big swim bait and he literally crumbled on the last day because he wouldn't let it go. But
he's got to do that. He's got to learn when to let
That's right.
go of that big bait.
I believe it was Grand Lake. Somebody in the comments.
Who are we to be telling Chris Zaldane what he's?
Right.
But we've seen it. It's become a pattern with him where
Right.
he can't quite finish the deal. The thing is, when you throw a big swim bait, a true big swim bait, 8, 9, 10 swim baits, you're eliminating bites.
Yeah.
And how many times in bass fishing tournaments, we don't think about it, but how many times does that 3-pounder for your limit that day win you the tournament?
Makes a difference.
Like if you didn't have that 3-pounder, you don't win.
Grand Lake, that's right.
And when
that's what I thought.
When you eliminate those bites by throwing a big swim bait, you're getting so many fewer bites throwing that big swim bait than you would doing other things that at some point in a 4-day or 3-day, in this case, event, you need to pick up something else and get some bites.
But at the same token, to his defense, the big swim bait gets him to the position he's in a lot of times.
It does.
And so in the back of his mind, I can understand the difficulty.
Listen.
And like we said, who are we?
Fishermen have gotten so much better.
Right.
This is not the days of Denny Brower and Jimmy Houston anymore.
That's right.
There are no more one-trick ponies winning events.
That's right.
It doesn't happen anymore. These guys are all so good and all so versatile that you have to have some versatility. Like you have to be able to catch them multiple ways.
That's right.
Within the same event to win.
Which I will say, at Lake Fork, he did throw the big swim bait a lot. But he also did a couple other things.
I don't think he did.
More so than he normally did. I watched a lot of it live.
Maybe he did. I didn't see it.
I seen it.
I didn't see that part.
Like this dude goes from big swim bait to spinning rods. And I'm like,
well, that's Californian for you.
I
He's
mean,
originally from California.
Yeah, no, I get it.
That's that
So-
California blood.
But-
it's drop shot or trout bait.
but I'm just, so if this, yeah, exactly.
he does throw the drop
Exactly.
shot.
He does throw a
Yeah.
lot.
And he's very good at it.
He's excellent.
And that may be what he does to win this classic.
And he may find out, hey, big baits ain't gonna do it for me, and he may just be sitting there.
I think everybody knows, everybody in this chat, you definitely know who my number one pick for the classic is.
Come on.
He's my boy now. He's my guy. And he's the guy that we've seen close the deal using the forward-facing sonar on the biggest stage of all. That's Patrick Walters. And he's having a hell of a year. Like he's with or without that live scope, he's been having a heck of a year. That's my number one pick.
And I can't disagree with you.
Right.
You
And I know who
you
your
know
number
who
one.
my number one pick's gonna be.
We both just picked like two of our favorite guys.
Yeah, and I'm going Brandon Palaniuk.
Yeah.
From Rathdrum, Idaho. Let's go.
Yeah.
Come
The
on.
question is, does he have like the first version of that Hummingbird live scope? Like, has he
So-
got it before it's been released?
So there's been people saying that they saw transducers for those birds
Uh-oh.
on some people's boats.
That-
Zaldane was one of them.
How perfect would that be for Hummingbird to like release it like at the classic or the week after, and then Palaniuk is like using it
Or even Zaldane.
and wins?
Yeah.
Or top fives or whatever. Swim baits and welding goggles.
That's
Man,
funny.
Them are Pit Viper Fishing Edition is
That's
what they
right.
are.
Now, what's your sleeper pick? Did you pick a sleeper?
I got a sleeper pick.
I got one too.
I'll let you go first on sleeper. I went first on everything else.
Cody Bird.
It's a good one. That's an electronics guy. My sleeper pick is Taku Ito.
Ito. Come on.
A great finesse fisherman that'll figure out how to get consistent bites where others struggle. And I don't know this, and this is racist as hell, but I'm assuming he's really good at electronics because he's Japanese.
And most of them are.
Because that's where they're all made. Like,
I mean, that's the facts. Yeah.
I mean, that's racist. I know. No Seth Fighter. No,
Here's my issue.
I
with
don't
Seth.
think this lake sets up real good for him.
That's what I was just gonna say. There's too many options.
I don't think this lake is going to set up that well for him.
There's too many different options.
But the way Seth is fishing, he's probably going to have. Plus, Seth hasn't won. Like, he's been in every event,
Yeah.
but he's not winning them. And so, nothing against Seth. He's the best angler on planet Earth right now on the Bassmaster Tour, anyway,
That's
for
right.
sure.
Yeah.
Like, undisputed on the Bassmaster Tour, he is the best right now.
Yep.
He's leading angler of the year for a reason. He's had the most consistent year of anybody. But when you're trying to pick a winner, it's nice to have a guy that's won before. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, it's not like our other picks have been winning every tournament either.
No, I
you know?
mean, yeah.
But I don't know. Seth just he's been so close so many times and he just hasn't closed the deal. But mainly the only reason I'm not picking that's really not the reason I'm not picking Seth. The reason I'm not picking Seth is because I don't think this event sets up is good for him as some others do.
So if we were doing a top 5, Jeff Gustafson was going to be another one in my top 5.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. You know, Brandon Card was one that caught my attention. And the only reason he did is because he has a good track record at Fork, and Fork and Roberts are similar. And what we saw him do at Fork was so unique and out of the way. And he was leading after day 3. People forget because of what Lee did. He was leading after day 3.
That's right.
Like if it was a 3-day event like the Classic is, Brandon Card wins it.
And he does well on Fork every time he comes.
And he found something that was so subtle and so out of the way, and he was catching so many more numbers of fish than anybody else was. It was really impressive. So Brandon Card's one that caught my attention for this event as well.
I just saw somebody say Keith Carson.
He's in there. He's in the field.
So you and I talked about Matt Robertson before
Yeah.
him.
He's an electronics guy. But the only reason I would say this is because I feel like he's an electronics guy.
Yeah. I think there's something to that. I think you gotta. Oh, and another one. I'll tell you who would have rounded out my top 5 is Clark Winlet.
Well, Clark's hard to count out anything. He's just so experienced, and you talk about local knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Like that dude knows where they've been catching on Ray Roberts since Ray Roberts was built.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and Clark is just so consistent.
Yeah.
You know, typically Clark is never out of anything.
No.
I mean, that guy's won more anglers of the year on all the different tours combined than
Everybody.
I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yep. So that was
like if Roland Martin and Clark Lindland were in their prime together, like they'd be the only two to win Angler of the Year ever.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
Really,
That's
they
real
would.
fair. Yeah. So,
Who else?
Who?
Paul Mueller,
Mueller be a good.
another
one.
electronics guy. I mean, listen, we're talking about the Bassmaster Classic field. You could basically go, you can just take this phone and scroll this roster and go, that guy.
Yeah.
Remember how you used to spin the globe and like pick where you're going to go?
Mm-hmm.
You could do that with that roster pretty much. I mean,
Pretty
it's the
much.
Bassmasters Classic. There's only 54 of them, and it's 3 days, not 4. And you're on a big fishery.
You want to pick weight?
So when a guy catches when a dude just randomly catches a 12-pounder, it changes everything in a 3-day event.
Yes. Yeah, because you don't have that day of rest, so to speak. That day to falter just a little bit. You've got to keep your foot on the gas.
Well, and if a guy, and listen, this is not out of the question on Ray Roberts, but if a guy goes out and just hits the right brush pile, hits the right bridge corner, hits the right shad spawn, which is still going on in this area, a little bit, not much, but it's still happening.
Oh, they're still bedding, so I mean, come on.
It's still, the shad spawn's still happening.
Yeah.
If a guy goes out and hits the right stretch of whatever on Ray Roberts, that could mean 35 to 40 pound bag. Realistically, it could.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I've seen some amateur level events.
And if everybody else is struggling to catch a limit,
That's
and,
huge.
and a guy posts a 38 pound stringer,
Even if you got 16 on 4.
he could have 5 pounds the next day, and he's still going to be, you know what I mean? Like, that could change everything. That's the thing about Ray Roberts. It's such a home run lake, a hit or miss lake, that it's wide open, and it's a very, very good test for these guys because there is shallow water areas that are productive. There is shad spawn. There is bluegill spawn. There is bass spawning. There is grass. There's vegetation to fish on Ray Roberts, contrary to what you'll hear typically. There is milfoil and coontail to fish in certain areas of Ray Roberts. There is shallow wind-blown flats with timber all over them. There is long rocky points. There's 3 different kinds of rock. There's 15 bridges or whatever it is out there with rocked up bridge aprons and corners and riprap. And I mean, there's everything to fish. And so these guys have got to take all that in. They get the 2 extra days of practice, which is cool. But they've got to take all that in, break it down, and we're really going to find out, I feel like, who can figure out a super diverse home run hitter fishery the fastest. That's what we're going to find out this week.
So we going what do you want to set the over under at the weight for the weight to win?
The weight prediction,
Because that's tough. Is 65 fair?
I think it's 70.
You think 70?
I think about 70 pounds is going to win it. A 65 is good. 65 is a good number.
I think 65 is fair for an over under.
Yeah, I'm right in between there. I could go either. Man, there's just so many big fish. I'm gonna.
So you 70, 75 wins it?
Yeah, 70's 23 and a third a day. 23, 23, 24 is 70. Yeah, I think 70 is the number.
70 is the goal. You catch 70 pounds.
Because you got to
in 3
think,
days,
if
you
a guy
got a chance.
catches 2 8-pounders, he's got 16 pounds.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as hard as it is to consistently get bit on red roberts, it's not hard to catch 23 pounds a day
Right.
on average. Because one of those days might be 33, and then the other day might be 13, but you're still averaging 23 pounds a day. You know what I mean? I think 70 is a good number.
I like it. I like 70.
There's one thing that's for sure. Texas has taken over the world of bass fishing
Oh,
with our
no doubt
fisheries.
about it. No doubt about it.
Because we're sitting here talking about one of the fisheries that's considered to be super tough, smaller field, all that. Hey, quit that, Skeeter Bug. Skeeter Bug's excited about the Classic.
She wants to go now.
She getting fired up about the Classic, Jack.
She gonna win?
No, I'm not taking Skeeter to the Classic Expo. I can't do that.
Why not?
Do they allow dogs in the Classic Expo?
If you put a vest on her, they do.
I am a veteran, but that's my service dog.
Yeah.
No, I would never. I should not have said that. I cannot make light of that situation.
You can get a service dog for anything.
I know. I don't mean to make light of that situation. I shouldn't have said that. I feel bad about that. But anyway, no, I'm not planning on taking Skeeter to the Classic Expo.
That's why she's mad.
Probably so. She's over there making all kinds of noises. She's like, this is nonsense. Not even cool.
Can't even lick no bass, nothing.
Anyway, Texas, we're talking about one of the toughest lakes to catch fish on consistently. And we're still sitting here talking about it's going to take
70.
22 to 23, 24 pounds a day. Look at how many Elite Series tournaments don't take that in big bass areas.
Oh, yeah.
Okeechobee, Florida lakes, all the Florida lakes don't always take that. Chickamauga right now, they're not catching that on their best 5.
No.
When we went to Guntersville, when the Elite Series went to Guntersville, Texas has become, hands down, the best place to go bass fishing on earth.
And have you noticed all the milling around from Parks and Wildlife since they've been doing all that too? And all the extra attention? Like, we were already getting so much attention on these lakes before, and all the extra attention they're getting now.
It's good.
All the extra stocking programs.
Oh, yeah.
Surveys.
Well, in Texas Parks and Wildlife is, they are the reason that
Correct.
this
Oh,
is
yeah.
the case.
100%.
And they are not stopping at where they are. They're not content with what they've built.
That's right.
They're continuing to grow the program.
The way I
and we've
see
got
it-
some great videos on this channel that we've done with the guys there that discuss how they're going to plan. I mean, we're going to get to the point where every bass stocked throughout the state is a second generation Sherlock offspring. Second generation teenage genetics in every bass that goes into Texas waters.
So
That's where we're headed.
The way I see it is Parks and Wildlife has noticed for a while that, hey, all these big tournaments and everybody's catching on to what we're doing down here. So obviously there's going to be more traffic in these areas, and they've been proactive to the situation.
Yeah, they're getting it. They're doing an amazing job.
All gas, no brakes.
Yeah, there is no end in sight for the dominance of Texas.
No. We're here.
Darmont Dillon, you make a good point. He says, just think, Billy, you were out there one day, no prior experience messing around with skeeter bug and catching toads. These dudes have 4 days of practice and are the best in the world. I say 80 pounds. Yeah, but I was out there for a day and a half and I didn't catch. It took me a day and a half just to catch a limit. But you're right. These guys are significantly better than me. So 80 pounds would not surprise me. 80 pounds would not surprise me for the Classic champion.
But it's going to be like the Patrick Walters situation.
I'll say
where-
this. If we get to 90 pounds, I'm going to start being, like, if it's a 38-pound average,
Yeah.
I'll be surprised at that.
Yeah.
But not like, oh my God, shocked. Like, I'd be surprised, not just floored. Anything over that, yeah, I'm going to be pretty shocked. But 80 pounds would not surprise me, but I'm just trying to predict the weight here. Like, I'm not picking what I think the biggest weight could be.
I think, okay, so here's what I think. Whenever you look at these tournaments and you look at how the lake was fishing, okay, and I'm doing bunny ears right now, but how the lake was fishing, you got to look at 2 through 6. That's going to tell you how the lake was fishing, because somebody's always going to.
Well, really what I like to do is look at not even 2 through 6. Like, if you got a 100 boat field, I like to look at 30 to 70, like the middle,
Right.
the straight.
So I'm talking about championship day, but yes, yeah.
Yo, championship Sunday. Yeah.
So same.
For the whole field, I like to look at the middle of the field and
That's
see,
right.
okay, like where was the cut line?
Correct.
That's going to tell, like, where was the day 2 cut line?
Right. How was
In
the
a
lake
4-day
finish?
event.
Correct.
Not in the classic, but in a 4-day event, the day 2 cut line is going to tell you so much about how the lake's fishing.
Yeah.
Because I got news for you. The guys on the Elite Series that didn't make the cut, they're better than me.
Yeah.
Like, they're better than I am. And that doesn't mean that I couldn't beat them on that day.
Right.
Because it's fishing. We all have our good days and bad days. But I like to look right in the middle of the field. That kind of gives you a realistic barometer of how the lake's fishing, in my opinion. Yeah. I
Using
agree.
$10 words, dude. You're getting us. We're the lowest budget, bro. You can't be using $10 words.
A realistic scale.
Barometer.
A realistic scale.
Dude, I'm a barometer.
Did that even work there?
It worked. I like it.
That's like a barometer is like what you measure the barometric pressure
Air
with.
pressure, yeah. I don't know. I like it.
We
Worked for me.
It,
Maybe
does,
it is.
it
Maybe
really
is
doesn't
lowest
make
budget.
sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Maybe.
It doesn't make any sense at
Well,
all.
good job then, Billy.
Yeah.
Way to keep us low budget. Way to keep us low
All the
budget.
low ballers unite,
That's
baby.
right. That's right. So, man, I just can't tell you how excited I am to see Palaniuk win this event. It's going to be great. I've been waiting for this.
This would be his first one,
Yeah.
and I know he wants it bad.
Yeah.
He's a great pick. We picked our top 3, but we really got a top 6 between me and you, and
That's a tough
I'm
one.
real happy with that top 6. So I went Stetson, Blaylock, David Mullins, Patrick Walters, and you went Zaldane, Palaniuk, and
Johnston,
Chris Johnston. That's a really good. And then our sleeper picks were
Cody Bird.
Cody Bird and Taku Ito.
Which,
Those are
you
good
know-
sleep.
you
But
know,
the whole
Taku-
thing about a sleeper pick is it's supposed to be one you don't think's going to win.
Yeah.
And I think Cody Bird and Taku Ito fit that mold.
Yeah.
We could take other guys that we mentioned afterwards.
Yeah.
That's not really a sleeper pick.
That's right.
That's just another pick.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like I said, if there was a top 5 scenario, then
Right.
yeah, Clark Wendlandt would have been in there for me, and it's crazy.
Exempt 03. We'll take some time and read a few comments, see if you guys got any questions or anything. Exempt 03 says Walters for the win. Shoot, I hope so. That'd be great. Like I said, he's a really, really good dude and become a friend of mine, and I would love to see that. We will be pulling for him over here. I know that. that. Dermot Dillon says, you catch a hell of a lot of big fish on a daily basis year-round. I'm pretty sure you could compete with some of those guys. Hey, I can't thank you enough for saying that, but no.
But the reality of the situation
But no.
is...
Like, okay, Lake Fork during the spawn, yeah, I could probably compete with some of those guys.
Right.
I still wouldn't win the tournament, but I'd make a cut.
Yeah.
Something like that, Lake Fork and other times of the year, maybe I make some cuts, maybe I don't. But traveling around all these lakes across the country, these guys do, I would get my butt handed to me so bad it wouldn't even be funny.
So you know what's... Okay, so check this out. There's a guy named Garvin East. He runs a tournament trail called King of the Hill out here in East Texas. And they fish... What they do is they take 6 poker chips with little initials on them for lakes. They have Lavon, Ray Hubbard, Tawakanee, Lake Tyler, Palestine, and I think Fork. Okay, so 6 lakes. All right, and then you pay up until a certain point. You have like a week to pay your entry fee for the next tournament, and then the night before at 6 o'clock he
Draw
draws
your shit. That's really cool.
Go do that, and then you
you'll
know what
see
I
how
mean.
good those
But
guys
that
are.
puts it in perspective,
It
like
does.
stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
It does.
You can pre-fish all 6 of them lakes whenever you want to.
Yeah. Dermot Dillon said, I'm already used to the pressure, maybe more so than the pros. Having a customer on the boat is stressful as hell. That's true. And you know what, me and Patrick, last time we talked on the phone, we had this conversation because he guides some too. He's like, dude, I'm more stressed out on a guide trip than I am on a tournament day.
Yeah.
Like, it is stressful, but it's different. Like, me doing what I do, if we were having a guide tournament where only the customer fish caught, if we had a guides tournament where only the customers' fish that they caught would count,
Yeah.
like, so, and I'm a guide, and then you got, Patrick Walters, you got the whole Elite Series field being guides, but only their customers' catches count. Yeah, I could probably compete with them at that.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I could probably compete with them at that a little bit
I think it's yeah.
because it's so
different.
much
So much
different.
different.
Like, guess what, Patrick Walters? Them customers ain't gonna be able to keep that fish on that live scope and catch them the way you
That's
do.
right, yeah.
Like guess what, Zaldane? Them customers ain't gonna twitch that glide bait the same way you do. Hey, they're not gonna catch as many fish on that glide bait as you are. Bass Monkey, no. No. Not my choice, but no, we're not. I am. He's not. We'll just say that.
Fair.
Exempt03 says Billy's tournament record. See Rayburn and Conroe. Yeah, thanks. Conroe? I've never made a video on Conroe.
No, Toledo.
Toledo? We didn't get to fish it. You got froze out.
That's right.
We only fished Rayburn tournaments.
What's the Conroe deal?
I don't know what I don't know what that guy's talking about. But the Rayburn tournament, yeah, I got my butt kicked in a couple tournaments on Sam Rayburn this year. Got my butt kicked. I would ask that you didn't judge me off just one tournament.
Yeah.
Just a couple tournaments this year.
Yeah.
And Chris knows this, and people that know me personally know this, but you boys' mind wasn't in the right place. There's been a lot that went on in my life, like crazy stuff that I can't even begin to explain to y'all, and that I don't want to explain to y'all, to be honest with you. Just crazy personal life situations that I was not getting the time to my mind wasn't all the way in it. I wasn't getting the time on the water that I needed to get. I certainly wasn't getting the practice time that I needed to get. And when I was at practice, I wasn't getting full days because everything that was going on. I was in a bad way. And I was in a bad situation, and I'm still dealing with a lot of it right now. This year has been, we've had good, successful guide trips. I caught an 11-pounder this year, but we've had some good stuff happen. But I feel like this year has been a little bit of a good and bad because we've had good things. At the same time, it's like it could have been so much better if I could have poured everything into it like I usually do, which I haven't been able to do.
Which I will say, after those tournaments, I talked to you on the phone for quite a few minutes on the way home, and you definitely handled them like an Elite Series guy. You were not happy. Those are not fun conversations.
No,
but they were at least constructive.
Yeah, they weren't fun. Looking at the time when you're in it, and I'm really competitive, so I was really upset with myself.
Right.
But looking back on it, I'm like, I had no reason to expect to do good.
Right.
Because of because I wasn't able to put the time investment into it.
Right.
And I've always held off fishing tournaments because I'm like, man, I am not going to fish bass fishing tournaments unless I can compete in them at a level that'll make me happy. I can put the amount of effort and work into them. And then I signed up for tournaments, and I wasn't able to do it.
Right.
A lot of that was unforeseen and happened in the middle of it, right? It kicked off in the middle of it. But going into it, I thought, okay, I'm going to go do these tournament deals. Said I was going to do them, so I have to do them.
Mm-hmm.
And when I said I was going to do them, I was going to be able to go all in. And then when the time came, I just had some other things in life that didn't let me go all in.
That's right.
So,
I get it.
This guy will tell you, I've fished plenty of tournaments around here, not just on Fork, and I don't always suck.
Now I'll tell you who does suck in tournaments.
No, you just get second.
You ain't lying.
You get a lot of second.
Lying, dude.
You don't suck. You just don't ever win.
Golly. Dude, okay. Let's talk about frustration for a second. I want to talk about this word called frustration.
Okay.
I wish y'all could seen this dude. I think it was 2014, maybe 15-ish.
I'm not real sure what you're
We
talking
were
about.
fishing.
I don't know where you're going with
we
this.
were fishing.
I'm scared.
We were fishing night tournaments on Fork.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we were.
I think that was 15 when we were fishing.
Yeah. Okay. We were on a bite.
I know where you're going now.
Okay,
I just snapped to where you're going.
We were on a bite in this creek, and we had some submerged grass, a little bit of coontail mixed in with some pads and stuff.
We had docks with lights.
Yeah. And we had a shelf off this.
We had a really steep drop. It went from like 3 foot to 20 foot, like
quickly.
that. And they would pull on that thing right at
throwing
dark.
spot
They would
removers.
get up on that top
Yep.
side.
We were throwing spot removers, and we were throwing little finesse worms.
Well, I used to throw the pumpkin edge shaky head.
Yes.
Because it had a bigger hook in it, a stouter hook in it. And that had been discontinued, and I couldn't find them anymore.
Correct.
So we were throwing a spot remover shaky head, and it's got a traditional shaky head hook, which is a thin wire hook.
Yes.
And this idiot, you won't tell this, you want me to finish?
Go ahead. See, this is what I'm talking about. You want to talk about frustration?
Oh yeah.
This dude.
Because I'm catching some, and I've got some unders, couple unders.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But there's some big ones that roll through here.
Yeah, Rich.
And I'm wanting us to catch an over, because in these night deals, pretty much you went over, you pretty much win.
Yeah. I mean, one over was winning.
Yeah. I mean,
it was taking 6 to 7 pounds to win.
Yeah, because it's summertime and the fish were thin.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, like 6, 7, 8 pounds for a limit of unders, and you might have a chance. So, if you catch an over and you get an 8 or 9 pounder, and then you throw a couple 1 or 2 pound unders, won.
Yeah.
And this guy got all the big bites for whatever reason that night. And every time this cat would get a bite, y'all, every time he would get a bite, he set the hook like he had a 3/4 ounce flipping jig on there, and he was punching grass.
All gas, no brakes.
Like he was stepping back, rotating the hips, and letting her rip.
Like, people always ask me if I actually fish with 6-cent baits.
And
Yes.
It was 3 or 4 really big bites that night that he got, like really big ones. Not slot. He caught some slot fish, and he caught some unders.
Yeah.
But when he would get these bigger bites, he would set the hook so hard that he would straighten the hook out on these dang shaky heads with his thin hook. And I'm sitting there telling him, like, bro, what are you setting the hook? The hook is as thin as a
Fingernail.
finishing nail.
Yeah.
Like, just reel into him and pull. And he just and I'm like, I'll get a bite, like, look, like this. And I catch him. And he's like, nope, can't do it. And he just keeps setting the hook. And he literally lost 3 or 4. 2 of them I'm almost positive were, like, for sure were overs. And the other 2 might have been. But
They stayed bait up just long enough.
it was just shaky head after shaky head. Hook run. Hook done. Been out.
I just think they were 16-pounders. But, I mean,
Well, if you wouldn't have set the hook hard enough, we might have been able to find out.
I don't know. Thank you, 6 cents, for making the shaky head.
Yeah,
hooks you
now
make,
we can
because
set the
we're
hook
in
on
business now.
Now we can set the hook on a shaky head. I was mad at you that
Oh,
night, dude.
my
I was
gosh.
so mad at you.
We get back to the ramp. See you later.
Get in your truck and go now.
I was like, you need me to look? No.
And this stupid tournament wasn't. It was like
Oh, it
there'd be
wasn't
like 20 boats. I mean, it
Wasn't
wasn't.
nothing about nothing.
I mean,
$60
I don't even think we were
interest.
going to win. You weren't even going to win $1,000. It's never been. You know this about me. I don't care.
It's not about the money. It's never about the money.
It's about that W, man.
That's right.
That's like, and
Pride.
I'll get second, or I'll fish an hourly tournament and cash a few checks on unders, and I'll do it. I'll take the unders in and weigh them.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm mad. Like, I'm mad when I don't win.
Dude, second makes me more mad than
Like,
just
I'll
zero.
get second, third, fourth, whatever, get a check, made some money, went fishing, had a great time. No, I'm mad
Yeah.
if I don't win.
Second legitimately pisses me off more than zero. I'd rather zero than get second.
Yep.
Not even joking.
Oh, yeah.
They got nothing
No
to do with
doubt.
the money.
No doubt. Do you change the size of your treble hooks on your crankbaits? No, and I'll tell you why. Because I use
Yeah.
6-cent crankbaits,
You
and they
got
come
changing
with
hooks.
the right hooks, man. They're the best hooks you can buy. Give the kid monofilament. I don't know if that would even help him that night. He was getting after
I'm
it.
telling you, like, I throw a finesse shaky head on a spinning rod now because you
Just to
can't.
restrict yourself?
Yeah, because I know I can't set the hook, and I do
just
that.
don't
I do
even-
that whole over the head.
I don't even bother anymore because 6-cent has got that 1/4 ounce with that bigger hook in it.
Yeah,
and
I
can just
drive that thing.
put that on a medium action rod, and I can lean on them and do whatever I want to them. You know. Jared Carson says, I'm the same. He's a football coach. So he says, after a loss on Friday nights, I won't talk to anyone until noon the next day. Bro, I'm telling you, there's something a little bit, I mean, it's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. Like, there's something a little bit broken inside of me. Like, when I was playing football, like, when we would lose, I would literally get, like, sick to my stomach. Like, my stomach would get queasy after, like, I hated it so much. It made me so mad. And it's just one of them things where you're so mad and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, it's done. The loss is there. You got to wear that L. And it would upset me so much. It would literally upset my stomach when I was younger.
Certain things drive certain people, man.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was always driven more by the hatred, like my dislike for losing than my like for winning. And it's a really unhealthy mental way to be, because when you do win, you're just like, okay, I won. Great. Whew, thank God. And
Should've done that.
And that's it.
Yeah.
But when you lose, like, it's such a low, and the high just never equals the low when you're built that way. It's a stressful way to be.
Kevin Van Dam.
It's one of the things I love about fishing, because, and it may be one of the reasons why I don't do tournament fishing as much. Because bass fishing, when I got into it, wasn't about tournament fishing at all.
Right.
It was just about me fishing. It was about me being on. It was like one of the things that when I had a terrible day of fishing, it didn't bother me. Like, I just wanted to figure out why.
Yep.
But it was still a great day on the water. And to be honest with you, it was a mental health positive for me when I was fishing, because I grew up bass fishing and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But when I was growing up, and I'm quite a bit older than you. How old are you now? 31? So I'm 8 years older than you. And so I'm that much further removed from all this college and high school fishing than you even were. And it wasn't there. But when I was growing up, there really wasn't a real path into professional fishing.
Correct.
That was just something that like a few guys did in the world, and you really didn't know how they got there.
Yeah, it
Like,
literally showed
the
up
culture I grew up in,
Right.
you know, Oak Ridge, Texas, south of Conroe, like that wasn't something that there was a real path to make your way into, and it wasn't something that was really known or talked about. It wasn't that big in the culture in the area I grew up in. We just went around to the ponds during when we could as kids, and then if we had a dad that had a boat, we go fishing on the weekends every once in a while on the big lake. But really, more than that, during summertime, it's go fishing for an hour or two in the morning. Then we go hang out on the sandy area and swim, and maybe go fishing in the evening. It just wasn't a big deal. It was just fishing. So I really never thought about it as a career path in any way. Then when I got out of the Marine Corps and I moved back here to Northeast Texas and I landed 30 minutes from Fork without even knowing it when I landed here, I started really getting into fishing because it's so prevalent in the culture here. Things have changed, and now all this other stuff is going on. And when I first got on the water, it was a mental break for me because I had it super easy in my time in the Marine Corps compared to the real guys. Like the real guys. But I did get deployed to a bad part of the world. I got deployed to the Anbar province in Iraq, and it's stressful being over there. It's really stressful. It's stressful just going through the training and adopting the mindset that you have to adopt to live in that world, to operate in that theater. And so I did have a lot of anger and what we call constant state of awareness or paranoid, like I had that in my head, and it made me a really kind of a stressed out dude it's hard to adjust from that lifestyle. It's impossible to explain unless you've been there, but it's a really hard adjustment to make mentally from that lifestyle into the civilian world. It's very difficult for everybody that does it. So there was and I wasn't a real nice guy to be around. I wasn't a fun guy to live with or to work with or to be around. Like, I wasn't a happy man. I was a stressed out man that was angry. And when I went fishing, and for whatever reason, when I got on the water, it was the first place that let me go.
Deep breath, yeah.
Like, I can remember, like I feel that, like my body just got relaxed right now thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because now I have all different stresses with kids and
Right.
ex-wives and all that kind of stresses.
Yeah.
Multiple businesses that I'm running.
Yeah.
Like I got all kinds of other stress now, so I'm stressed out, all the time now. But I handle it much better. But I could literally feel my body relax just remembering that feeling.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that my mind I wasn't thinking about anything bad, anything negative. I wasn't worried, like I wasn't looking over my shoulder
Right.
for anything bad or dangerous to happen. And so that's how fishing, I got back into it. And I got really even more, I shouldn't say back into it because I always fished, but I got more into it. For that reason, I never really had a huge desire. I mean, I'm a competitive guy, obviously, and I do enjoy tournament fishing. I've done it quite a bit on a smaller level. Mm-hmm. And I've had some success doing it on a smaller level. But I never was like, man, I want to go fish the opens. I want to try and qualify for the Elite Series. Because I didn't want to turn the one thing that was my mental break into the same thing, like the way my mind works. I didn't want to turn into everything else that's always stressed me out. Because as much as I love playing football, it wasn't mentally healthy for me. In fact, it probably contributed to some of my mental stressors when I was in the Marine Corps. You know this about me. I used to be a golf pro.
Mm-hmm.
When things went wrong in golf, it infuriated me. It stressed me out. Fishing was the one thing that I could go do, win, lose, or not even win, lose, or draw because I wasn't competing. Fishing was the one thing I could go do and be completely mentally relaxed and refreshed when I got done. Like feel, mentally improved. Like that. So I never wanted to change that about it. And I still, now that I do it as a job, I fight that constantly because now it's my job and it's much more stressful now for me than it was then. And I'm super blessed. I'm the luckiest guy on earth to get to do this for a living. Is how I feel about it. It also, I have to fight. I got to work really hard to not let it change the mental health attributes that fishing gives me because that's important for me.
Mm-hmm.
as a person. It's important for me as a father to have that, to be a better man, be a better father. And so I've got to fight that constantly. And speaking of that mental health deal, it is a really big deal for all of our veterans and first responders out there. And like I said, I've lived it some, but not nearly as much as many others who have sacrificed much more than I could have ever dreamed of. And we are doing a fishing tournament because I always wanted to have our own Year Lake Fork Guide fishing tournament when we started this platform. And we started it last year, and it's July 4th weekend, so it'll be July 3rd. But we're doing an open team tournament. It's a 70% payback to the field, 30% donation to an organization called 22 Kill that is purely focused on suicide prevention and mental health assistance for veterans and first responders. And I've researched all the veteran organizations that I could, and this is the very best one, and they help where it's needed most, in my opinion, and they do the best job of it. And such good people up there, such a good organization for such a good cause. So July 3rd, we're going to have an open team tournament for a $100 entry fee. If you want to get in the big bass pot, it's $120. So $120 a team. And we're going to do everything we can. First thing we're going to do is we're going to have one hell of a lot of fun. Because we're going to be at a fishing tournament, and it's going to be a fun one. The event there, it's a freaking party. It's the Year Lake Fork Guide Nation. If you watch this channel, you watch any of the social media that we put out, man, this is a celebration of you guys as much as it is us. It's even more so you guys, really. It's a celebration of the platform that y'all have built for us, because we don't build it. You guys and your interaction with it is what builds the platform. And so we're celebrating that. We're having a great time doing it. We all love bass fishing. We're going to compete at it, have a good time. At the same time, while we're there, it's going to be for a reason.
That's right.
We're going to try and do the right thing for the right reasons. We're going to have all the fun in the world, but we're also going to provide, do what we can to raise some money and provide some financial assistance to a very important, needed thing in our community.
Agreed.
And we're going to have a big tournament. We'll have a big auction at the weigh-in. We'll have an invitational tournament where you guys can bid on. You can bid on me as a partner, or you can bid on some other fishing guides that are going to be there from buddies that are guys as partners. You're going to have other guides that you've seen on the channel like Zach Watts, Vic Pearsall, Cody Mays, different dudes you've seen me fish with over the years on the channel are going to be there. You can bid on them as a partner. We're going to have a tournament on Sunday, July 4th as well, but you have to buy your partner in that one, and 100% of the money that gets raised in that auction for your partners is going straight to 22 Kill.
You can, registration will be Friday. We'll be up there, is it 6:30? 6.
But you can start registering at 5.
Register.
You can start registering at 5 on Friday in person at Lake Fork Marina,
You can also,
which is where the whole event will be hosted. You can also pre-register online right now at fishlife.com. And the life is spelled with a Y, L-Y-F-E, fishlife.com. You can pre-register there. It's open. You can also straight donate to 22 Kill. If you can't make the event, you want to donate, you can donate to 22 Kill there as well.
Is it fishlife.net or .com?
.net.
.net.
Did I say .com?
Yeah.
Yes, .net, fishlife.net. Because, when you're about to fish life, you need a net.
That's right.
Not a com. You don't need no com. You just need a net. But it really, listen, I'm telling you, fishing helped my mental awareness when 22 Kill didn't exist.
That's right.
And there's really no telling. I mean, my youngest son might not exist without bass fishing. That's the reality of it. And these are touchy things that are hard to talk about. Very, very difficult to talk about. But I have two sons, and one's 11 and one's 8. And if I wouldn't have moved back into this area and landed where I did and met some of the people I did and got back into bass fishing, there is a very good chance, a very real chance that my youngest son might not exist. Fishing it saved my life. And that's something I don't really ever talk about. And maybe one day I'll sit down and do something that goes more in depth on the details of that, but that's a very difficult conversation to have, especially when you've done everything you can to move past it. And I'm so grateful for the 22 Kill organization, because I know how many hundreds of thousands of millions, maybe, veterans and first responders that are in the same mental anguish and that end up there. And it just means a lot to me that we've been able to get to a point where we can do something. Not, we don't do a whole lot, but we do what we can. In the grand scheme of things, we're not changing the world, but we are in a little bit of a way. And we're trying really hard. We're giving everything we can. And the fact that we can't help in any way at all is an absolute honor. It's the biggest honor of my entire life, is the fact that we can help that situation.
Agreed.
And we couldn't do it without all of you. So I always tell you that, you guys, that I'm super, super grateful for everything that y'all have done for me and mine. And y'all are the reason that we're able to do stuff like that. And it's the biggest honor of my life. So it means a lot. So I feel like I'm just repeating myself. But this is a I've started down a path that I'm not sure I want to go any further down. It's very difficult.
This is a big deal, and come out and support.
Absolutely.
We'll all be there. It'll be a great time, and
Absolutely.
we will. If you don't do it for anything else, do it for the reason it's.
Yeah.
Do
it so that another veteran gets
right.
to have his second son.
That's right. That's right.
So that kid can exist and be raised by a guy that's a dadgum hero that was willing to sacrifice all for each one of us. Those are the type of guys we need raising kids these days.
That's right.
Right?
Agreed. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, let's do it for that.
Yep. So get online, get pre-registered.
Yep.
If not, we'll
Come
see you.
us.
I'll be up there at the pavilion.
You sure will.
Yep.
We're gonna have the whole crew there, man. Chris is gonna help us out with some tournament
Now,
stuff.
I'm gonna disclaimer, guys. Okay, what y'all see here versus what you see there. I'll cut loose a little bit more in person.
Might be a little bit of a caricature of
A
yourself.
caricature.
We will have a great time. This is a tough conversation, but in that tough conversation is the reason behind the organization that we're benefiting through this event. But along with that, it's a celebration of this platform and this community that is you guys.
That's right.
And so we are going to have a blast.
Yeah.
We are going to have an absolute blast. There's going to be some pretty dumb stuff to behold, which we all love.
Shout out to Mr. John Reach, by the way. He met with Cody Mays. He gave us another raffle auction.
Nice.
Item. So
very good.
Yes.
We've got a lot of stuff. We've got a 2-night stay at house on Lake Athens with a guided fishing trip. We've got some thermal hog hunts.
Oof.
We've got some custom rods. Whiskey Myers is donating. I don't know exactly what yet. I haven't got the details, but they're donating. So maybe, I don't know, maybe backstage passes, maybe another signed guitar like last year. I don't know. But we've got coolers donated. We've got just all kinds of stuff being donated. All kinds of auction items you guys will have a chance to get your hands on, as well as some guided trips that you can auction, that we're going to auction off. And of course, the second day invitational tournament, you can get your partner, you can buy them. So lots of chances for you guys to find something that you really want, bid on it, donate to a great cause, and help a veteran be allowed to raise another child.
That's right.
Be allowed to raise his child that does exist.
That's what it's all about out there.
There it is. Cheese, it says, yo, I don't know anything about fishing, but I just came by here to drop a like and subscribe. God bless you, man. Thank you so much, and God bless you as well, brother. God bless you as well. All right, Chris, I don't think we can really top that topic, so I guess we'll just say one more big thank you to each and every one of you guys that continue to follow the stupidity that is
The lowest budget.
the lowest budget, actually, the old low baller podcast.
That's right.
And thank y'all very much as always. And Chris, do that thing you do.
BP for the win. Bassmaster Classic. Let's go.
All right, we'll see.
Yeah.